Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Steve, and I'll be your host for our demonstration of NetSuite. As we get started here, I'll just review quickly how you can participate in today's event. You should be seeing something similar to this on your screen with a control panel in the upper right-hand corner. There's a questions pane in that control panel, and if you have any questions during the webinar today, just type in your question and hit send. Then at the end of today's event, we will answer all the questions that you submit to our webinar staff. Very happy to be joined by another Steve today, Steve Mowchan. Steve is a senior solutions consultant here at Terillium. He specializes in demonstrating the value of multiple ERP systems to companies. And today, of course, he'll be focusing on NetSuite. Just quickly, I'll introduce Terillium to you. We are a firm that specializes in implementing ERP solutions. A lot of these projects, as we talked about in our last session, can carry some inherent risk with them. But at Terillium, we're very proud that we've had multiple award-winning implementations. We think that we're only as good as our last reference. And to that end, I'll talk just a little bit about our last reference with the NetSuite product, and that was at a company called 9Round Fitness. 9Round is a fitness franchising company across the United States. You may have heard them. They focus on a 30-minute kickboxing workout. They've got about 650 franchises. 9Round ran their corporate headquarters on QuickBooks from the day they started 10 years ago until about 2 weeks ago when they went live on NetSuite. They significantly outgrew QuickBooks. In addition, they supply the equipment to all of their gyms when they open or when they need new equipment. So they have a couple of warehouses, and they essentially ran their inventory on spreadsheets. In December alone, they estimated they missed out on about $2 million worth of revenue because of stockouts, because they didn't have the inventory that their customers were ordering from them. So they recognized that with their significant growth and with that business challenge, primary business challenge, they needed a real ERP system to help them not only manage their company, but also forecast their customer demand. So 9Round chose Terillium to implement NetSuite, compared NetSuite to a few other solutions. We won with NetSuite and were able to get 9Round live in 120 days on time and on budget. And now 9Round is enjoying all the benefits of having a real financial system with advanced analytics so they can manage the revenue of their different gyms and their different operating units, as well as having that automated warehousing inventory system that not only gives them accurate inventory information of what they have on hand now, but helps them predict demand and make sure that they have enough inventory to satisfy all the need from their customers, as well as to support them in all of their future growth. So I think that's an interesting, good success story for NetSuite. Just in terms of where Terillium is, we have about 170 full-time U.S.-based consultants. They live across the country. We're headquartered in Cincinnati, but we do cover the entire United States. We started this webinar series to help companies that are thinking about new ERP systems. That's a pretty challenging journey for a lot of companies, and we thought this would be a good way to make the process a little bit easier and hopefully more successful. Of course, we're showing NetSuite now. We'll continue the series with Oracle's ERP Cloud tomorrow morning at 11. And then in the afternoon, we'll continue with the pros and cons of cloud versus on-premise ERP systems. And also tomorrow afternoon, we'll be presenting a mobile inventory solution from a company called RF Smart that's a partner of Terillium. They focus on warehouse automation with barcoding, and they'll talk about the differences doing that with cloud and on-premise ERP systems. Then on Thursday, we'll have our last demonstration, which will be Oracle's JD Edwards product at 11. And then our president, Dave Woodworth, will talk about ERP project success factors. He's implemented or been involved in implementations at over 400 companies, and he's compiled a list and a presentation of some of the things that will help to keep these kinds of projects successful. Okay, so let's take a look at NetSuite. I'll introduce NetSuite in just a couple of minutes here, and then Steve Mowchan will take over with the live software demo. So NetSuite was the first cloud ERP system, formed about 15 years ago, and its current claim to fame is that it's the largest. It's number one in cloud ERP. They define that by having the most customers. They have 40,000 live customers globally on NetSuite. Since NetSuite was born in the cloud and designed to run an entire business, they call themselves cloud first and cloud only, and that means that it has all the things you would associate with a real cloud solution. It's not just an older solution that's been put in the cloud. It started in the cloud. Things like using any device to access your system anytime, anywhere, and especially being very intuitive and easy for anyone to pick up and use without extensive training. NetSuite was built on a single data source. They call that the unified data model. It's the key to true business intelligence built right into the applications, which Steve Mowchan will show us here in just a couple minutes. This model lets you report and analyze your entire business end to end, which really is why I hear when I go to companies and ask, why are you thinking about ERP? That's the most common answer, because we don't have easy access to the information we need to run our business. So NetSuite, that's one of their strengths. All of this is in real time. You don't have to build data warehouses or plug in other BI products for that to work. It's all also built on what they call the Suite Cloud platform, which allows for personalization, customization, and development within a framework that's secure and also allows you to upgrade. And in fact, all of NetSuite's 40,000 customers are on the same version, even though they have this Suite Cloud platform that allows them to develop customizations. We'll talk a little bit about more about that. In addition, NetSuite has all the functionality that most every business uses that would need to be successful, from HR, financials, supply chain, CRM, e-commerce. All of that is built right in, and I'll kind of take a deeper look at some of that here. From a financials perspective, everything you would expect from GL, AR, AP, but then maybe some things that you might not expect, tax management. From a billing perspective, subscription billing. A lot of software development companies use NetSuite and they bill their customers on a subscription basis. Then recurring revenue management is a specific piece of functionality within NetSuite. So it's very good at revenue management. And also revenue recognition is also a functionality within NetSuite. And then, of course, you have all of your financial planning, reporting, and analysis, as well as all of the global capabilities for multi-currency, et cetera. And then from the rest of ERP, things that you would expect like order management, but also billing and invoicing. So it's able to handle some of the more complex billing challenges that you might have. Order fulfillment management. On the production side, the manufacturing side, product data management for your BOMs and routings, but then also planning and scheduling, work orders, quality, manufacturing execution systems, of course, procurement. It does have warehouse management, and you are able to use barcoding with the warehouse management solution in NetSuite, but it also includes inbound and outbound logistics, so transportation. Inventory, of course, but then also supply chain management, but also planning and execution. On the CRM side, I think is another strength of NetSuite. It's got CRM built right into it, a very intuitive CRM module, but it also has marketing automation built in, which is pretty unique to NetSuite. Most companies buy a separate marketing automation package. With NetSuite, that's built right in. And then also human capital management, payroll, HR, And then for the more service-oriented businesses, project management from accounting, resources, time and expense, and billing. So a very wide set of features within NetSuite. Really, the goal there is to have everything that you need to run your business right out of the box. And I think Steve will touch on a little bit more of this, things like built-in interfaces to UPS and FedEx for shipping, and some of the things that are typically bolt-ons with other ERP systems are included with NetSuite. And then we touched on this a little bit, and this is a visual. I'll not spend a ton of time here because Steve will show it to you live, but this is a sample of the BI that's built into NetSuite, and Steve will show you that you have a great capability to personalize, customize all of this business intelligence for you and really get all of the analytics that you need to do your job effectively right out of the box with NetSuite. So, you know, some of the metrics around NetSuite, the #1 provider of Cloud ERP. I've been around for about 15 years. Started as a cloud solution, supporting everything from startup companies to some of the largest public companies, global enterprises. It does have the fastest growing financial management platform in the world. More than 40,000 customers running on the same version. So those are some of the things that NetSuite focuses on when they talk about the metrics around the NetSuite business. And I think I mentioned this, but you know, all customers on the same release, despite the fact that NetSuite has some pretty robust development capabilities within it to customize the solution. So customization's not really a dirty word anymore, and upgrades happen automatically 2 to 3 times a year, and not an event to the extent that all the customers are on the same version. Okay, so enough with kind of the hot air here. We'll pass it over to Mr. Mowchan here, who will dispense with the PowerPoint and jump right into the live demo of the NetSuite product. So Steve, thanks very much for joining us today and agreeing to show us NetSuite. I know we're all excited to take a look here.
Thanks, Dave. Well, hopefully everyone is taking a look now. You should see NetSuite on your screen. So what have we got? Steve mentioned that NetSuite, was the first complete ERP cloud solution. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today. I'm going to show you the navigation of NetSuite, how you get around the system, how data is presented to you, and how you can drill down into the data that's presented to you to get to the root cause of issues, or to see the original transactions that created the numbers that you're seeing. I've got up a screen that would be set up for, in this case, a CEO. It's a role-based dashboard, if you will. You can call it a home page, a dashboard. NetSuite has these role-based form or dashboards that you'll see throughout my presentation today. The fact that I will go through multiple roles is something that you may or may not have in your company. You might have a small company that you have many roles, and you'd be like me where you would go back and forth between many roles, or you might have a larger company where each person only logs on with one role. So for this CEO, let's take a look at what's here. NetSuite is built with what are called portlets. These are the individual little boxes or windows that you see around the screen. We're going to navigate through that and see what else here, what's available, and then after the navigation piece, we'll go through a very simplistic order to cash demonstration. So on this dashboard for a CEO, we are going to see some high-level financials. Again, created with a CEO in mind, the type of information and the level of information they'd like to see. We have what's called a subsidiary navigator. This is for any company that might have many different divisions or companies within a major high-level organization. You see here we have headquarters and such, and then down through North America or Australia, EMEA, so on and so forth. I'll show you a little bit more how this kind of drives the information that you'll see on this screen and all of the related portlets. Again, keep in mind, this is an integrated system, so all the data is real-time and all tied together through the different pieces or modules. So we have CEO financials, all the financial information that the CEO might want to see at a glance or on a daily basis. If I go through and click a level down from, instead of headquarters, if I go down to Americas and just click on this, you see how the right-hand side of the subsidiary navigator gets no longer gray and turns to white. So now I'm only looking at America, the Americas financial information. If you notice, the CEO financials updated, my KPIs on the left updated. Again, allowing you to quickly drill down and see the performance of each individual company or division. This KPI portlet here in the left-hand column, this is fantastic. Look what you have here. You have receivables, inventory, expenses, income, comparisons of today versus the same day last fiscal year, the same day last month, this period, last period. Normally, you would need a very robust BI tool to go through your data and lie on top of your database from your ERP system to get this kind of information. But this comes with NetSuite. These are easy to change and set up. You have a ton of options. So if I'm looking at the receivables, again, I can choose the range from today. You see all the different, there are so many options here. I don't have to go through and create anything. I don't have to calculate anything. All I have to do is simply change a drop-down box. I hope that you see how powerful that is. NetSuite is set up to improve our productivity and efficiency of the end users. And that'll be kind of a recurring theme. There are preferences. As we scroll down, you see the portlets keep going. If you want to have multiple things on the screen, you can do that. You have the ability to personalize your dashboard and set preferences. So if I click on setting a preference, you see there are lots of things to set up. I have appearance. I can change colors and such. I can see what activities or analytics. Alerts. I can say, what things do I want to get alerted to? Send information to my email so I can get stuff when I'm not logged on to NetSuite. So there's lots of things with localization here and the ability to format your dates and such. What I really like, though, is throughout NetSuite, not just on this personalization page, but anytime you have a label and you hover over, you'll get a little question mark, and you can click for field help. And this field help is generally actually helpful. There are some systems out there, some ERP packages, where you click the help screen and all it does is rephrase what the label says. But the NetSuite stuff is really good. This dashboard that we have, it has different formats. You can determine whether or not you want a layout with multiple columns. As we've got it, this first one, we've got a narrow column on the left and then a wider column on the right. And you can easily, obviously, change that. Again, that's a personalization that you can do. Another one of my favorite things in NetSuite are the reminders. When you see the order to cash demo that I do in a few minutes, I'm going to just go through the different processes by using reminders. It's a simple and easy way to say, what should I be focusing on? Please remind me of the things that are important to me in my daily job and my tasks, and allow me to, at a glance, see what's important and what needs to be taken care of. These reminders, again, simple to add to, simple to make changes. I just added invoices overdue and invoices rejected. I don't have any invoices rejected. I am filtering out anything with 0. But you see how quickly that was to change the reminders. And then I can go in and obviously edit and go directly to any of these reminders. So if I click on tasks to complete, there are my 2 tasks. Again, most everything that you see on these dashboards has drill down capability. You will generally drill down all the way to the original transaction if you'd like, making you quickly productive and efficient. You don't have to really go open up another window somewhere to go search for things and flip back and forth. There are many ways to quickly get around. I have recent records. So if I'm working on something and I get interrupted with a phone call or someone comes to my desk and I have to go to a meeting, I can come back and quickly jump into what was that invoice that I was working with? Oh, here it is. Here's the last invoice I worked with. Let me go jump and go directly to edit that. I have favorites. Now, favorites generally are only if you have a real need to add something to a screen that isn't already there. I like the way that NetSuite has created these dashboards and roles so that generally you don't have to use favorites even anymore. Things are right at your fingertips, such as this navigation portlet down here. Here's where you would see all of the individual applications that you need to work with. But if you want to put 1 or 2 of them or 5 of them or 10 of them to favorites, it's there for you. There's a top 10, there's a what's called a new bar. Again, you can personalize this to say, allow me to quickly jump, again, creating an efficiency, quickly jump into the addition or creation of a new event, a CRM event, phone call, task, create a new customer or contact opportunity. Again, this one geared toward the CEO. It might be completely different for a sales rep or for somebody in the finance department. As we take a look at some of the other portlets, you see some of these graphs down here. And not only do you have the ability to hover over and see, again, as I mentioned, you can click on one and it gives you the details behind the data. And from here, I could even go into the application and see that transaction record that created this chart. You see again how quickly you don't have to go search for something because it's presented to you at your fingertips. And each of these portlets come with many options. You see, you go back to those 40,000 customers. Over time, NetSuite and Oracle have taken feedback and said, what are you using? What do you need? And they've created all these. So again, enabling your users to get productive quickly. And yeah, if I want to change the way it looks, there are some options there too. Quickly change back and forth. Adding or changing this dashboard is so very easy. I'm going to go into personalize again. There are many options available to you already. I'm going to click on KPI meters, and instead of receivables, I'm going to do expenses and bring up this gauge. And look at this drop down. I can print that chart. I can download it as various images or a PDF document. A lot of these also, you can export the data from these portlets. Again, the data on the go, very easy to take it from NetSuite with you. If I wanted to take the reminders and put it back up in the top again, here, let me close this personalize window first. Take this, as you might guess, simply drag and drop. Now it's permanent. Permanent until I move it again, if I want. Very simple, no IT involvement, no bottlenecks. A lot of this stuff, again, here for you already. If something that is here is not perfect, it's easy to modify. And those things are not customizations. They are held with you for your user and your actual NetSuite instance. Again, lots more things that you can do as far as gaining efficiencies, and we're going to show you one of those right now. Let me go to my favorites. I'm going to bring up a list of customers. This might be the most impressive thing that I'm going to show you from what I've seen with dealing with NetSuite as opposed to other ERPs. We've got a list of our customers. Okay. If I've got a sales rep here, if I wanted to go down and change a few of these records on the sales rep and change the customer sales rep on a few of these customers, most ERP systems, you would have to go in and edit each individual customer and make the change and save it and exit back out. However, we've got in NetSuite this little edit flag. So I've clicked that now, enabling editing in line. So now next to sales rep, you see a little pencil. So if I go down here and I say I want to change, let's say, Mr. Larry Johnson, I can change Larry Johnson. I'm going to change that to Caroline, and I'm going to change these other two here. And you notice we changed all three quickly. You can select a row. You can do filters if you want. If I want to do filter by a particular rep, I could quickly do that. So you can see how easily you could change from one rep to another if someone leaves the company. Yes, there are some batch jobs that you could use to do this offline. But many times it's something that you want to be able to do quickly and see the results right away and know that you're changing exactly on only what you want to change. Really, really powerful. Again, productive, efficient. Allows your users to be really good at using NetSuite right away. Searches. Okay, so everyone's so used to now to be able to go to Google or Bing or anywhere and just say, give me all the information you can about this. So if I go in and I type in Bob, you can see lots of stuff comes back. If I want to see just customers that have the name Bob, you can see how I can quickly put a suffix on there and filter the global search. And again, these global searches allow you to go in and do editing directly from a link from your search. There is also, I'm not going to go into it, but there's a really, really good help facility within NetSuite that gives you a lot of information about NetSuite itself and helps you get better use of the system. And that's extremely well done help text. Security, we really didn't touch on that too much. It's tied to each of these individual roles. So if you can get access to a role, that's where you then apply what applications can that role get to, and what can they do within that application? Can I do adds, can I do deletes, or can I just view or inquire on the data? Well, I hope you got a pretty good look at the navigation in NetSuite. I'm going to now run through a quick order to cash, a very simple order to cash. So I'm going to flip on over to my sales rep role where I will enter a sales order. As it switches over to the sales rep, note that things change. The colors have changed. My portlet, the data, the information in that has changed, different portlets. My reminders are now up here. Again, I'm pretending to be a different person at this point. You might have the same person do multiple roles, but you might not, just depending on the size of the company. I'm going to go to the new bar, create a new sales order. Note that as we're getting into the sales order, that there's a lot of wonderful workflows that you can do in NetSuite that help you with approvals and defaulting data fields and such. Workflow is a really fantastic way to, again, allow NetSuite to make you more productive and efficient. So as I go in to the customer, I can just start typing the customer's name and it'll pop up that record for me. You can also have a drop down and list, or you can do a search. So you have the ability to do type in a direct name, or go search if there's several customers with a similar name and you want to make sure you've got the right one. Okay, I can go in if I want and set different default locations for where I'm going to order my products from and where they're going to ship from. Don't necessarily have to do that, it's just an option. Customer PO number if I want to do that. You've got your payment terms, my order date, so on. There's a lot more information here that I'm going to go into for this simple example, simple demo. Again, same with entering an item. As I start clicking and typing in the item description, it filters for me automatically. And if I look at my quantity here, you notice it brings in my availability, my list prices, taxes if I had been using a taxable item and customer. I'm going to add that item. And really that's as simple as it can be. And I'm just going to save my order. Now again, there's more here if I want to go into stuff. If I want to go in and set up some different specific shipping, if I want to select carriers, maybe UPS or FedEx. Again, as Steve had mentioned, there's integration out of the box with UPS and FedEx, especially for the parcel. You can do integration as well for LTL. So it's not like you're just going to do parcels only. So that integration for the transportation, the inbound and outbound, is something that you can not have to have a third-party package for. Pretty impressive stuff. You notice up here in the right-hand corner, we'll have an order summary. And again, I did not add in taxes or freight to this order because I'm just making this very simple. But it'll show up in a line item fashion here in your summary. So I've entered the order and it immediately tells me this is pending fulfillment. Look what I've got here. I've got a fulfill button. I can make the order entry and order to cash process so simple if I wish. Maybe you have a really small company and You've got one person who's kind of in charge of everything and they handle it all. How simple is this? It tells me what's next and it gives me a button for it. Now for what we're doing here, I'm going to switch to a different role to do fulfillment. But note that you also can make the process as detailed as you need. For example, instead of just a fulfillment button, you might have a pick, pack, ship. So you might have 3 steps. You might tie that in with barcoding. That's all part of base NetSuite as well. I'm just showing you a very, very simplistic way to do order to cash. So instead of fulfilling here, I'm going to switch over to my warehouse operations role. Again, as I go over to the operations, warehouse operations, I get a different look and feel again. And this is where now I'm looking at orders to fulfill. So maybe this is how I run a lot of my day. I'm going to go to this reminder, bring up orders to fulfill, and that'll help guide me to what really needs to be done. Now for here, I had it default to the US West distribution center. I think we chose US East. So I'm going to change that filter and let it bring up only the East, or the not filter by West. So here's my order for Orla Corporation. It's at the top. It's got my weight, and again, so all that can be tied with tracking number and such, can be tied directly to UPS or FedEx, and talk back and forth and immediately update the system if I was using the freight capabilities, the transportation capabilities. So here's my item, tells me on hand, my location. If for some reason I needed to change location, it's just a drop down, and again, it would tell me whether or not I had inventory available. And again, as a reminder, this is a very simplistic fulfillment, but if I wanted to pick, pack, ship separately, I could certainly do that. It's just a configuration from within NetSuite that you would set up as part of your implementation. Very easy to do. So I get a nice green bar here. It says confirmation. That's saved. Now I'm going to go over to my controller, say, well, now that we've fulfilled it, let's make sure that we invoice them and actually record. We'll go ahead and record our transaction and get it onto the books. Note that there's a different portlet here. This one has new release. Steve mentioned that twice a year you get major release updates. Well in advance of that, NetSuite will tell you what's coming and when it's coming. This release just recently rolled out. But you can go and learn all the details on all the features. And the fact that they give you this months in advance allows you to take a look. Maybe you can take advantage of some of that. Or maybe if you had some customized scripting that you no longer need because it's now in the base package. It's really kind of a nice way to alert you, here's some new stuff you might want to look at. So I'm going to go to my reminders for sales orders to invoice. And again, running this as here's the things in my reminders that I do on a daily basis so I can keep up to date. I don't really have to go in search and do a find all the time and keep refreshing something to see what might need to be invoiced. I've got a list of invoices here. Again, I could do an individual invoice and invoice this particular sales order, or I could choose multiples, or I could set this on a scheduler and invoice everything that's ready all at the same time. So I have options. If I certainly do a lot of sales orders, I'm not going to want to go into each one and do an invoice, but you do have the option of the mass invoice process. But here, just for our example, I'm going to go into this invoice that I just got today, and we'll invoice using the individual option. So as I go into the invoice, I'm going to take a look and remind myself, what did I actually ship? I have $65 worth of items. If I had any promotions going on, I can dig into that say, well, did I have any discounts on this order? Again, pricing is all tied into NetSuite as well. My shipping, I could update now. Now I'm going to tie it to my carrier, and if I did that, I could go out and update my shipping and handling costs. I don't have any taxes again here. But once I've confirmed everything, it's really just, again, a one-button save to do that invoicing. Again, this is a single invoice that I'm prepping here. But this process, when I get and I trust all the data in the system and I know things are well, I could send these all through a scheduled job and shoot all the invoices out at the same time. Now, these invoices can go EDI. They can go to an email to your customer, multiple emails. They could go out to your customer and maybe to your sales rep to let them know the invoice has been sent. Then, of course, you can print them and send them through the old-fashioned mail service. That's not going away, but not too many people do that anymore. So now I've gotten confirmation on this. So, well, let's go take a look then and go back to our CEO. Now, because I'm all still on the same login, I'm just changing roles, the data on these portlets doesn't automatically update. If I were to log off and log back on, it would update. But here I've got a little refresh. Take a look at this sales bucket for today. It shows $0. When I hit the refresh and recalculate this, you'll now see the 65 show up, and then this week and this month updated accordingly. So if I go drill into my sales for today, then as I discussed, you've got the ability to look into not only the summary, but then down into the detail. And from here, I can go to the transaction record if I want, and that'll bring up that actual invoice itself. And I can go into the invoice and review it. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and show you what it does. You do have the ability, because I did a simple example here. If you had a lot of them, you have down here at the bottom, you have filtering that you can go through, and a search if you want to do some searches. So here's my invoice, and from here, there again, it says my invoice is open, and there's where I would accept my payment, taking us through the order to cash process. So I hope you saw some good navigation, how easy it is to be productive right out of the get-go for NetSuite, how efficient your users can be because you can drill down and get at all the data you need very quickly. And then how simple it is to do an order to cash if you have a small to medium-sized business. And of course, NetSuite grows with your business, so you can add in picking, packing, shipping, so on and so forth as you grow and have those needs develop. At this point, I'm finished with my demo, and I'm going to send it back on over to Steve to have a last few words and check on any questions.
All right, thank you, Other Steve. Great demo. Good to see the product in action, and definitely impressive user interface and some functionality there. So I do have a couple questions here that have been submitted, but I'll remind everyone, if you do have any questions, just type them into your questions pane on the GoToWebinar interface and hit send, and I'll read and attempt to answer those as best as me and the other Steve can. Okay, so first question, how much does NetSuite cost? That's always a good question. And like any good consultant, I'm going to say it depends. I'll give you maybe some parameters, and happy to give specifics if you want those, maybe more in a one-on-one, because it will depend on your number of users, the size of your company, It's all priced differently based on those parameters. But a couple things I'll say. NetSuite's a SaaS model, which means you pay for the software as a subscription monthly. So there are no large upfront costs, but you do have an ongoing monthly or quarterly or yearly cost that you pay. NetSuite has a mid-market edition, which I think covers most of the companies I see online today, which allows you to bundle all the functionality in NetSuite and get access to everything: financials, CRM, marketing, all the stuff we talked about and saw today. So you don't have to pay more for different modules that you want. So I think those things help from a software perspective. From the implementation side, I quote our NetSuite projects at Terillium, and I typically come in at least half, if not more like 25% of our traditional ERP implementations. So the implementation is significantly less expensive with NetSuite. And the reason for that is that our NetSuite methodology allows for more remote consulting, not all remote, but some remote consulting, which saves you on travel dollars and some hours, as well as we spend less time on the configuration of the software, and that allows us to get to testing and training faster, which speeds up the implementation. But again, happy to answer more of those questions one-on-one. Does NetSuite have anything that would handle a depot repair MRO model in addition to ERP and MRP? They do. So they have a project module which handles some costing, some resource management, and then NetSuite also has Open Air, which helps with the resource management side of things, as well as preventive maintenance. So we can give you some more information on that to the person who asked that question. We will get that to you. One question here: what are the constraints with NetSuite versus Oracle Cloud? It kind of depends on your industry and your requirements. I don't so much think of functional restraints in terms of when do we recommend one versus the other. There are some functional restraints that sometimes will come into play, but more often I see that as more size of company. We tend to position Oracle's ERP cloud product in the upper level of the mid-market into the up-market, whereas we position NetSuite in the small market to mid-sized market. And the reason for that really is that the Oracle Cloud product is designed to be a much more functionally deep or able to handle more complex requirements, whereas NetSuite's aim is more give you everything that you need as a small to mid-sized company right out of the box. So just kind of different go-to-market strategies there. Is there an Excel add-in for reporting to pull data from the database into Excel to design different reports? There is. That is sold by a NetSuite partner, but it's a product that's pretty popular, as I understand it, with NetSuite users, so that's definitely available. And NetSuite, kind of like some of the other popular cloud products you might know, like Salesforce.com, there's kind of a big community of partner solutions that have been built that you can go and search, and they're pre-designed to work with NetSuite. Some of the popular ones that we hear of are connectors to your existing web storefront, that Excel plugin, connectors to the LTL shippers, tax software, that kind of thing. So all of those products have been developed by third parties and plug right into NetSuite and are available. Where can we find demos of NetSuite created for companies in our industry? So for the person who asked that, we'll look for your specific industry. I don't know if I've seen that one yet, but I'll try to find something similar and send it to you. And just generally for everybody, there are a ton of NetSuite demos on YouTube. So you can actually just Google NetSuite video, NetSuite demo for our industry and find some pretty good results. But for you who asked that question, we'll try to find something specific for you and send that over to you. Let's see. So if anyone else has any other questions, type them in quick and we'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll have to follow up with you and do that one-on-one, which we're happy to do. But I do want to thank Steve Mowchan for the demonstration today. Steve, nice demo. And then to the entire audience, thank you for taking an hour or yet another hour, if you were with us this morning, out of your day to watch NetSuite. I hope that was valuable for you to take a look at one of our ERP systems and what it can do and what it looks like. The next demo in our series, and want to thank everyone for joining us and have a good evening.